Welcome back. All right, so if you're looking for the matinee games, I reviewed them earlier. That way, it's not a 14-game review, it's 10. So it's a little bit easier to, and of course, the sound isn't going to work, so people on their phones will just see, and then they'll be like, no sound, dude. Dude, bro, go re-upload again. Because it happens every time. Dude, bro, it's fine. I check every video before I upload them. Bro. All right. So, first up, we're going to talk about Arizona and Washington. And, bro, I tell you, Vejmelka versus Kemper in this one. Caps get an early power play. That was killed off. The shots at the end of that are 3-0 for the Caps. So they had a good start. They're wearing the reverse retros. They were the only team that wore the reverse retros tonight. Teams know they're allowed, right? So, Coyotes press at 3.5 minutes. The shots would even up. They were 5 apiece at 6 minutes. Kemper was sharp to this point in the game. Kuznetsov has a rush chance. That deflects out. Caps get another power play. Coyotes killed that off. Coyotes press. They're kept to the outside. McBain then had a shot that was kicked aside, but is scoreless after one. Good road period by Arizona. Second period. Early jump goes to Arizona. Irwin's then denied as the Caps press. The shots were 4-2 for the Caps at 5 minutes. I believe the Coyotes had the first 2 shots. The next 4 went to the Caps. Caps then get a power play, and they score on it at 8:55. It is Ovechkin on the power play from Van Riemsdyk and Mantha. So he has 6 goals in 12 games. And as people say, well, he's kind of slowing down. Yeah, he's fine. That's goal number 787. He passes Gordie Howe. That's the most goals scored by a player with only one team. Meaning that, yes, Gretzky's the overall record, but Gretzky scored his goals amongst numerous teams. Ovechkin has been the one team, and now he's the all-time leader there. Coyotes get a power play. No, nobody will ever pass that number. Caps press with 8.5 minutes left. There was another Coyotes power play. That was a no. And so we're going to the third period with Washington up 1-0. Hayden has a shot that's blocked. Orlov, he left in the first. He still wasn't back in the third. So without Orlov, that hurts. Remember, the Caps are dealing with a lot of injuries. Caps press at 2.5 minutes. Johansson has a shot that's blocked, but then on a turnover, Anthony Mantha at 3:23 gets a goal to go with his assist, and it's 2-0 in favor of the Capitals. Coyotes score. There's a goalie interference challenge. It's a good goal. It's a good goal. They rule no goalie interference. So it's Josh Brown from Gostisbehere and McBain at 6:33. So the Coyotes have a power play coming out of that. That was killed off. But not long after, it's Ritchie from Boyd and Gostisbehere at 9:45. A goal that they needed a replay to show was in. It came down off the crossbar, and it landed right on edge behind the goal line. So that's a puck that's completely crossed the goal line. If it had landed flat, odds are it doesn't cross the goal line. Vejmelka holds as the Caps press. Coyotes shorten the bench late. It works. It's Nick Ritchie. So he's got 2 goals in this game. He scores from Hayden and Keller at 19:24, and then Sherry's denied. So Ritchie with a couple of goals tonight. He's up to 6 on the season. This is why I always find it funny when people say, well, yeah, he's scoring there, but he wouldn't score anywhere else. Well, he will if he gets good ice time. The final score is 3-2. Yeah, the Coyotes win this one. They go to 4-6-1 for the Capitals. They're 5-6-1. This is a tough one. Your 3 stars are Ovechkin for breaking the record, Ritchie for getting a couple goals, and Mantha for a goal and an assist. I can't find fault with that. The shots, 16-10 Washington in the first, 7-6 Washington in the second, 13-10 Washington in the third. The final shots are 36-26 for the Capitals. Power plays, Arizona 0 for 3, Washington 1 for 3. The hits, 24-20 for the Caps. Vejmelka saves 34 out of 36. Kemper saves 23 out of 26. And that's your storyline. So the Capitals continue to struggle. Next up, Boston in against Toronto. And hey, I said this was due to happen. Boston's had a lot of really good results. Today, not so much. Ullmark versus Samsonov in this one. Carlo breaks up a rush. Matthews nearly gets a fluke goal. I was kind of surprised he didn't get one there, but didn't take much longer. The shots are 5-2 Leafs at 7 minutes. The 6th shot goes in the net. It's Matthews from Bunting and Marner at 7:19. Sporel then had a shot that was saved. Zaka with a net feed. That was defended. The Leafs press with 6.5 minutes left. Bunting has a rush chance. That's kicked aside. Bruins press with 3 minutes left. There was a last-minute push by the Leafs, but it's 1-0 Toronto after 1. Second period. DeBrusk has a rush that fizzles out. Matthews with a nice shot. That was saved. Bruins get a power play. During that power play, Marchand gets taken down on a break, and therefore it's a penalty shot. Marchand scores on it at 4:59, and that's his 800th point in the NHL. It's a nice way to get one. Leafs finish the kill. The shots are 6-5 for Toronto at the half. Then there's a post for Melgen. Hall has a rush chance. That's defended. Krejci was denied. Marner clears it out. Leafs get a power play, and they score on it. And it's Matthews with his second of the game from Nylander at 14:07. He buries that one from in close. And then the Leafs look for more. Tavares fires one wide on a rush. The fans call one. The ref does not. But then the Leafs would get a power play with 7 seconds left. So we're going to the third. Look who's in net. It's Källgren. So for Samsonov, apparently it's a knee issue. This, of course, is alarming because Toronto was already without Murray. Now it looks like they might be without Samsonov as well. So in the third period, there was a shorthanded rush by Coyle. That was defended. After the kill, the Leafs get another power play. That's killed off. Bruins get a power play. It's killed off, but the Bruins get another. So it was a parade in the third period. Foligno has a shot that's blocked as it ends. Källgren then denies Hall and holds on. And the Bruins pulled the goalie and they pressed. They could not tie it. Your final score is 2-1 for Toronto. They go to 6-4-2 with the win. Like I said, they'd be fine. I said that in a video earlier this week. They'll be fine, and they are. Boston drops to 10-2 with the loss. The shots in this one, 11-7 Toronto in the first, 15-7 Toronto in the second, 7-2 Boston in the third. Final shots 28-21 for the Leafs. Both teams go 1 for 3 on the power play. The hits 47-21 for Boston. Ullmark saves 26 out of 28. Samsonov saves 13 out of 14. Källgren in relief only faced 7 shots, and he saved all 7. So, pretty big win there for Toronto, and we'll see if the good times continue to roll for them. All right, next up, Buffalo in against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I said before the Carolina game, it would be interesting to see where Buffalo stands against Carolina and then Tampa. The speed is there, the skill is there, but they are definitely one notch below those two teams in particular. It's Comrie versus Elliott in this one. Olofsson fires one wide on a rush. Elliott then denies Olofsson as well. And then Paul would score from Hedman and Hagel at 7:07. And that was on a good press by Tampa Bay. Kepke's then denied. We get some shoving after that. The Blues had a 3-on, the Sabres had a 3-on-2. I mean, everybody's wearing blue, right? So sure. Sabres had a 3-on-2 that was defended. Power play for the Sabres. That's killed off. Hedman was rattled by Thompson. He would stay in the game, though. Gergensons would tie it from Power and Thompson at 16:24. He buried that one in close. Nice goal for Gergensons. And then there's a rush chance for the Bolts. That fizzles out. So after the first period, it's 1-1. Buffalo's game. Second period. Bolts press. That draws a power play. Perry then had a net feed. That was held. We get 14 seconds of 4-on-4. This is a bit of a parade. Then Buffalo gets a power play. There's a shorthanded rush by Nemesnikov. Strong kill by the Bolts. Becomes 4-on-4 for 14 seconds again. The Bolts go back to the power play, and they score on it. It's point from Stamkos and Kucherov at 5:05. He scores that one on a rush. Sabres get a power play. Skinner's denied in close. Mittelstadt is not. He would score the power play marker from Power and Okposo at 8:34. Clegg then had a shot that was blocked as they pressed. Things get punchy with 21.6 seconds left, but we're going into the third with the score 2-2. And early in the third at 4:25, Skinner, who's been hot lately, scores from Tuck and Cousins. So right there, right, Buffalo's ahead. The shots are 4-3 for the Sabres at 6.5 minutes. Quinn has a shot that's blocked. The Bolts clear it out, and then Hagel ties it up. He scores from Kucherov at 7:40. Cousins then had a rush opportunity, fires that one high. Asplund had a rush opportunity as well. That one was saved and held on to. Skinner's robbed on a fast break, and then on a rush right after, it's Perbix with his first NHL goal from Kucherov and Hagel at 15:05. What have I said about Tampa? Just has all these guys in the pipeline. It's like they could just generate their own hockey players in EA Sports style, but make them real, and they just put a guy, we don't even know who this guy is. Oh yeah, he was in the EC, he was in Greensville. Is that a place? Sure, he was in Greensville, and we brought him up, and here he is. He's Sam Placeholder. Anyways, and then you get a hat trick. So the goalie's pulled with 1:20 left. With 1:13 left, the Bolts call a timeout. And they end up getting the empty netter. It's Kucherov from point at 19:02. That's a 6-game goal-scoring streak for Kucherov. The final score is 5-3 in favor of the Tampa Bay Lightning. They go to 7-4-1 with the win. Again, Tampa Bay looks like they've got it back together. For Buffalo, they're 7-5 with the loss. Couple of tough losses on the road. Your 3 stars are Perbix, Hagel, and Kucherov. The shots 7-6 Tampa Bay in the first, 14-10 Tampa Bay in the second, 9-8 Tampa Bay in the third. Final shots 30-24 for Tampa. Power plays, Buffalo 1 for 3, Tampa Bay 1 for 2. Hits 44-43 for Buffalo. Comrie saves 25 out of 29. Elliott saves 21 out of 24. So overall, pretty fun game. Elliott didn't have to be fantastic, but he was good when he had to be. And a nice comeback victory for the Tampa Bay Lightning. All right, moving along. Philadelphia in against Ottawa. If you're not concerned as an Ottawa fan, I don't know what to tell you. This is starting to feel like the same Senators. It's starting to feel very similar to previous Senator teams. It was Hart versus Talbot. Strong early play by the Sens, and they would score. Giroux, he gets his first goal ever against the Philadelphia Flyers, and his first game ever against the Flyers, from Stützle and Tkachuk, and it's number 300 in his career. He has 300 goals now. So this is all, it's a great story, right? And they're ahead. The shots are 5-0 for Ottawa at 5 minutes. There you go. They're going to win this, right? Flyers get a power play, and on their first shot, they score. Yep. It's Hayes from D'Angelo at 5:17. Brandstrom then has a net drive. That's blocked. Pinto was denied on a break. The Flyers press. The Sens shot block. Tkachuk has a rush chance. That was saved. Last minute scrum as the Sens press. 41.8 left. The Senators get a power play. So that would roll over into the second period, where the score is now tied 1-1. Flyers finish the kill. The Sens go back to the power play. The Flyers killed that off as well. Flyers press at 5.5 minutes. They get a power play. The Senators did kill that off and celebrated by getting a power play of their own. Sanderson had a shot that was saved during that. That was killed off. We're giving Sanderson a good look on the power play. Brassard is then denied and close. He was so close to getting a goal there. Things get pushy after a hold by Talbot. Sens go back to the power play. The Flyers don't even let him set up at this point. They kill it off. Ottawa's power play was really their Achilles heel a few seasons ago, and it looked a lot like this one tonight. So the Sens press after, but on a little bit of a good press and then on a turnover, McEwen scores at 18-24 for the Flyers to put them ahead 2-1. Talbot saves at the horn. We get some more pushing at the horn. Obviously, the Sens are getting frustrated. We're going to the third. DeBrincat was denied during that. Early in the third period, anyways. Flyers get a power play. That was killed off. The Sens press at 7.5 minutes. Sedlak had a rush chance. That was held. Stützle was really having issues with turnovers. And in the third period, a lot. So this is, again, with young players, this can happen. It's starting to roll the wrong way, and you're trying to make the pretty pass. You might be trying to force something that you normally wouldn't, and you might be trying to, deke through players that previously you would have said, okay, that's not the smart move to make. And I think with Stützle, it's a good example of some of that starting to happen with his game. 7:01 left, the Sens get a power play. Brandstrom has a shot that's blocked as it comes to an end. Goalie gets pulled with 1:30 left. A timeout is called with 1:10 left. Furious pressure by the Sens. They just run out of time. Game's ended. And the final score is 2-1 for Philly. They go to 6-3-2. Philly's keeping their head above water somehow. And for the Sens, they're not. They're 4-7. And now we've got Toronto's turned it around. Tampa Bay's looking good. Boston's obviously way ahead of them at this point. And I mean, there's other teams in the division getting points. Buffalo's still pretty far ahead of them too. So they need it. And of course, Detroit got a win earlier today. Ottawa's got to pick it up or they're going to be in trouble. Your 3 stars are Hart, Giroux, and McEwen. The shots, 11-5 Ottawa in the first, 17-10 Philly in the second, 13-6 Ottawa in the third. Final shots, 34-28 for the Senators. Power plays, Philadelphia 1 for 3, Ottawa 0 for 5. Hits, 33-30 for Ottawa. Hart saves 33 out of 34. Carter Hart continues to be an amazing story this season. And Talbot saves 26 out of 28. So, that being said, moving along. Seattle. Seattle, I really honestly am starting to become very impressed with the game they're playing. And their ability to, if they can't control the shot clock, apparently Martin Jones has really picked up his game since that really rough start he had. He had, what, 858 save percentage a few games ago? I'm thinking that's a little higher now. So, it's Jones versus Jarry in this one. The Pens press. They draw a power play. That led to a shorthanded 2-on-1 that was defended, but Seattle does kill off that power play. Penguins press after it's done. Bjorkstrand was denied as Seattle got a press of their own. Then there's a post for the Pens, but they reviewed anyways to make sure it didn't cross the line. Spoiler alert, it wasn't a goal. Power play number 2 for the Penguins. That was killed off as well. Everly then had a rush chance that was held. The Penguins pressed with 5 minutes left. The Kraken get a power play. Seattle killed that off. So it's scoreless after 1. Second period, early jump for Seattle. Rust has a shot that's saved. There's a press by the Penguins at 3.5 minutes. Burakovsky had a rush chance that was held. But then the Penguins open the scoring. And it's Crosby from Gensel and Letang at 5:24. So it's 1-0 Pittsburgh. Now, Eberle's denied on the next shift for Seattle. So Seattle tries to push back, and they would tie it. It's Dunn from Gord at 7:48. Dunn just blasts it from the point, and it goes through. So a really fantastic play there by Seattle to tie it up. Kapanen was then denied on a rush. The shots are 8-7 for the Penguins with 6 minutes left. Kraken get a power play. That was killed off. There was a press by Seattle then with 2.5 minutes left. Donato had a net feed that was cleared out by Pittsburgh. But going into the third, it's 1-1. It's anybody's game. And in the third, early press by the Penguins. Zucker was denied in close. Zucker's had all kinds of opportunities over the last few games, just not going in the net as much as he would like. Penguins press some more at 3.5 minutes. And then Dumoulin with a turnover where Jari would come out and bail him out because, yeah, you got to watch those turnovers. Dumoulin's off to a rough start, and I'm starting to get to the point where I'm wondering if he's 100%. And if anybody on that blue line is completely and totally 100%. It's been a rough go for Pittsburgh recently. So Kraken get another power play. That was killed off. But 5 seconds after it ended, Seattle scores. It's Gord from Tanev and Geekie at 7:48. There's Geekie on the board again, and Gord with a goal to go with an assist. Now that doesn't last very long. Pittsburgh would tie it. Gensel from Crosby and Letang at 9:51. So it's the same 3 people, just a different order. Gensel with the goal in this case, and it ties it up at 2. Penguins then press for the lead, and it looks like, yeah, Pittsburgh's going to survive. Pittsburgh lost to Seattle in Seattle. Won't take them lightly. Pittsburgh should win this game. However, Tanev scores, former Penguin, Brandon Tanev, because that's kind of how that works. It wasn't McCann, it was going to be Tanev. From Gord and Geekie at 16:21. It's 3-2 Seattle. And I'm as shocked as anybody. Goalie pull with 1 minute and 25 seconds left, but the Penguins would ice it with 1 minute and 19 left. They did manage to get the goalie out again, but they were out of sorts. They lose 3-2. Seattle ends up 7-4-2 with the win. They're up to, what is it, 4-game winning streak? I think it's a 4-game winning streak. It's something ridiculous, right? Like this is Seattle, and they're playing really well. Pittsburgh 4-6-2 with the loss. This is 7 in a row now for the Penguins. The 3 stars are Tanev, Gord, and Gensel. The shots, 13-10 Pittsburgh in the first, 15-9 Pittsburgh in the second. Both teams had 9 shots in the third. Final shots, 37-28 Pittsburgh. Both teams went 0-for-3 on the playoffs. On the power play, Seattle right now looks more like a playoff team than Pittsburgh. The hits, 35-34 for Seattle. Jones saves 35 out of 37. That a boy, Martin Jones. Jari saves 25 out of 28. So, yeah, all of a sudden Seattle's getting really good goaltending and they're winning games, which is something that was said before the season started. If their goaltending can fix things up, the record gets better. And here they are with 7 wins already. Now, I need to change boards. Welcome to the Board of Sadness. All right, so Vegas in Montreal. We'll start here, and then we'll get to the general sadness and frustration. Hill versus Allen in this one. McNabb has a shot deflect wide. The shots were 2-0 Habs at 4 minutes. I'm just going to say, Montreal was overmatched by Vegas. Vegas is the better team. We know this. But Montreal gave them everything they could handle for large stretches. And this is the kind of game I was expecting from Marty St. Louis being behind the bench. So Roy has a rush chance that was defended. Kessel steals one from Armia. Habs are shot blocking as Vegas presses. Eichel has a shot saved. The Habs rush. Gallagher with a rush shot that was blocked. Martinez hits the outside of the net. And at 13:25, Nick Hague opens the scoring for Vegas. But that lead doesn't last. It's Caulfield. He wires a top corner from Doc and Edmondson at 14:16. There's Kirby Doc again. He's starting to put up points. Then things get a little punchy after a save by Allen. Jack Eye was in the middle of that because that's what he does. I really love Jack Eye's game. It's fantastic. 2 minutes of 4-on-4 follows. Hoffman was denied. Vegas clears it out. I thought Hoffman played well too, considering how poor his season's been going. I actually thought he was more physically involved and getting into the play a little bit more than he has been. Habs press with 3 minutes left. Edmondson blocks an Eichel rush, but it's 1-1 after 1. Second period, early on at 2:24, it's Smith from Carlson and Marchessault. So the misfit line strikes there. Vegas then gets a power play. That was killed off, but it had 5 shots. So, yeah, Vegas is really teeing it up at this point. Stevenson's robbed as Vegas presses. The shots are 12-0 at 8 minutes. It did settle down after that. Montreal's defense got it together, but it just showed just how swarming that offense was. Strong forecheck by Vegas as well. Habs pressed with 6 minutes left. Eichel had a rush chance saved, and the Habs did press to close it out. So after 2, it's only 2-1. And then the third period where everything goes bonkers. Early press by Vegas, but there's a 3-on-1 off a turnover, and Suzuki scores from Dach at 56 seconds. So there's Kirby Dach again. However, that just seemed to make them angry. Smith scores on a power play from Kessel and Theodore at 4:45. Kolesar then scored from Haig at 8:14, and then Roy scored from Kolesar and Carrier at 8:35. So that line gets on the board twice. Then Anderson gets a boarding major. He boarded Pietrangelo. Pietrangelo gets involved to defend himself, and one of the other Vegas players jumps in to defend him as well. So they both get penalties. So Montreal comes out of that with a power play. They score on that. Suzuki from Dach and Caulfield at 10:31. So that means that like Vegas had a power play and they scored. Marchessault from Eichel and Pietrangelo at 13:16. It's weird. It's an audit. This whole thing was weird. So yeah, and it qualified as a power play goal on the app. And I don't know. It was a weird game, but that made it 6-3. And then at 15:21, Slavkovsky, who's coming on, he scores from Goulet. So it makes it a little bit closer, but your final score is 6-4. Vegas, it's not pretty, but they win again. 11-2 overall. Their record's fantastic. For Montreal, they're 5-6-1 on the season. The 3 stars are Smith, Suzuki, and Marchessault. The shots 14-12 Montreal in the first, 16-8 Vegas in the second, and 14-9 Vegas in the third. They do know how to score in the third period. Final shots are 42-31 for Vegas. Power plays Vegas 2 for 4, Montreal 1 for 2. The hits 18-9 Vegas. Not a very physical game. Hill saves 27 out of 31. Allen saved 36 out of 42. So entertaining game, but not really that surprising of a result. Next up, Nashville and Vancouver. So don't count your chickens, Canuck fans. Saros versus Demko, early chances for the Canucks, and from a distance, Mikheyev gets one that Saros would want back. He scores from Hughes and Schenn. And then at 3:41, it's JT Miller from Höglander and Horvat. Buries the rebound. Nino then had a net feed near miss there. There's a near miss for Dries on a rush. You always get an honest effort from Sheldon Dries. He may not have tremendous talent. He may not have a lot of finish, but you always get the effort. Preds get a power play. Duchesne has a chance to deflect out. It's killed off. No actual shots on the net. Jeannot then had a fight with Stillman. Preds get a power play. That was killed off. Then the Canucks get a power play and they score on it. It's Kuzmenko from Miller and Hughes at 17:32. That's the 7th goal for Kuzmenko already this year. And this is where the Bruce There It Is started up. And Shorthouse and Garrett agreed. It's kind of early for that, isn't it? And it was. With 1:43 left, there's another power play for Nashville. And that was what was kind of throwing me off, was that the Canucks were still not very disciplined. So, second period, the Canucks finished the kill. And then we had a hit on Ethan Bear by Jeannot that wasn't considered to be a penalty. And we can have the debate about whether or not it's a penalty. But Myers jumps in to defend his teammate and is given an instigator. So, Jeannot flattens Bear, and Nashville comes out with a power play. And right on that, I thought, this is where the turnaround's going to start, isn't it? Because it takes Meyer out of the game for 17 minutes. He gets 2, 5, and 10. So it throws off your defensive pairings for 17 minutes. And Gross would score on the power play, his first NHL goal. You're welcome. If I had a dime for every player that gets their first goal against Vancouver. Niederreiter and Ekholm with the assists at 3 minutes. Canucks then get a power play. That's killed off. There was a press by them after, but this is the other problem. UC Saros gave up his crap goals in the first period. He doesn't give them up from there on. So you need to play really solid defense because Saros isn't allowing anything else. The shots are 7-2 for the Canucks at 8 minutes. McCarron had a rush that was held. The Canucks end up coming out with that with a power play. Horvat hits Saros' mask. The Preds clear, and I mean he hit it with the puck, not with his hand or anything. Horvat then, Miller had a fast break. That was saved. We end up with 17 seconds of 5-on-3. That's all killed off. The Preds go back to the power play. That's killed off. The Canucks rush. Preds push with 4 minutes left. Forsberg had a net drive. That was blocked. We go to the third period with the score 3-1. And all I kept thinking was, the Canucks really needed an insurance goal in the second period. They're only up by 2 because it's Vancouver. Third period, it's an early press by Nashville, and they score. It's Gross with his second of the game, second of his career, from Sanford and Jankowski at 1:06. Preds look to tie it, and they do at 2:41. It's Niederreiter from Ekholm. And I wrote underneath there, choke almost complete, just in case you can't read it. It's right there. Forsberg with a wraparound had saved. The shots are 10-6 for Nashville at the half. And it just looked like a collapse to me. So I did see Thomas Drance say, oh, it was their best full effort. I'm thinking, that's damning praise, man. Saros looked like a wall since it was 3-0 as well. So we go to overtime. Preds controlled first. Mikheyev loses the handle on one. Mikheyev with a net drive. That was saved. The Preds controlled long enough that they were able to change lines, but in the end, you end up needing to go to a shootout. In the shootout, Duchesne gets the winner. So, Nashville with the shootout victory go to 5-6-1. With the 4-3 shootout loss, Vancouver drops to 3-6-3. So they're still 3 games below NHL 500. They've won 3 out of 12 games. And the start of this game is why I am not screaming from the rooftops to trade everybody. This is a good team. It's a fragile team mentally. So if you trade one player out and you bring another player in, they're still going to be fragile mentally. This is not something that a trade can fix. So, except of course for people who are saying just tear it down and do a rebuild. Okay, everybody's at the cap, but sure. But yeah, I don't think there's a trade that can fix what's going on with Vancouver. This has to come from inside the room. They have to have a meeting and figure this out. They have to do whatever they got to do to figure it out. Players aren't going to mail it in, but at this point with 3 wins and 12 games, the odds of them making the playoffs are very slim. 3 stars are Horvat, Gross, and Saros. Shots 13-3 Vancouver in the first, 19-7 or 17-9 Vancouver in the second, 15-13 Nashville in the third, and 3-2 Nashville in the overtime. Final shots 45-30 for Vancouver. Power plays Nashville 1 for 5, Vancouver 1 for 4. The hits 34-22 for Nashville. Saros saves 42 out of 45, which is remarkable when you consider he allowed 2 goals in the first 4 minutes. Demko 27 saves on 30 shots. Might have been one of his better games, but again, they need those big saves that they're just not getting at the right times right now. And I know that sounds brutal, but it's true. The numbers for Demko haven't been great so far this year. So, yeah, there you go. All right, next up. So Calgary's kind of in a bit of a funk right now, too. They came into this one on a 3-game losing streak, and I don't know. I don't know if you feel better about this one. And it was kind of the opposite to what happened to Vancouver. So I don't know if Calgary fans feel better tonight than Canuck fans. I mean, they've got a better record, but still. It's Vanacek versus Markstrom. Flames had the early jump, and they would score. It's Kadri from Lewis at 129. He just buried that one in close. So Kadri stays hot. Hughes then had a net drive that was held, but then Bastian scores to tie it from Hughes and Wood at 427. Miles Wood's all of a sudden getting a ton of points. Devils had momentum, and they would score again. Zetterlund, who is taking advantage of getting into the lineup with Palat's injury. He gets a goal from Tatar and Hischier at 750. Buried the rebound there. Poor defensive coverage by the Flames, who are without Michael Stone at this point. Stone left the game. They were down to 5 defensemen. Clearly threw things off him for a long time there, too. It was more of a 4 defenseman situation. They, of course, didn't have Tanev tonight either. So, yeah, Stone exited, and the Devils had a power play. They killed it off, and Stone had come back. He exited a second time. Bratt fires one wide as the Devils press. Jesper Bratt's point streak ended tonight. So, I don't think he'll be too sad because of the end result, but, yeah, that's over. So, the Devils go back to the power play. That's killed off, but then Wood scores to make it 3-1. He scores from McLeod and Bastian at 16:31, buried it low on the rush. Devils nearly added another. So after the first, it's 3-1. This looks like it could get ugly. But second period, there's an early press for the Devils. The Devils get a power play, and then right after finishing the kill, Lindholm gets a goal at 4:48 from Hanifin and Toffoli. So that's your momentum shift right there. Flames press at 6.5 minutes. They get a power play. There was then a 5-on-3 for 26 seconds. New Jersey kills that off. 8 shots during that for the Calgary Flames. Graves then has a shot that's held. As the Devils press, we have 2 minutes of 4-on-4. Wood had a rush chance that was held. With 10.3 seconds left, the Devils get a power play. So that rolls over into the third period. The Flames finish the kill. And then Zadorov ties it from Coleman. and Anderson at 3:12, and it was on a net drive, nicely placed. Mackey then fired one high as they were pressing for the lead. Boquist is denied on a net drive. McLeod has a rush chance that's saved. The Flames would press with 7.5 minutes left. Strong forechecking by the Devils again. And the Devils' speed is a real highlight anytime you're watching the Devils play. Hischier fires one high on a rush, but we're going to overtime. The Flames controlled first. The Devils, though, they end up coming up with a power play, which did not make the fans in attendance happy. There's a post for Hischier, and then Zetterlund would end it at 2:38 of the overtime from Hamilton and Hughes. So it's a 4-3 overtime victory. New Jersey's 9-3. Ridiculously good record. For the Flames, they dropped to 5-4-1 on the season. Your 3 stars are Zetterlund, Lindholm, and Wood. Although it looks like Wu because of the way that the marker kind of bled there. But hey, Wu, sure, fine. Wood. Shots, 12-7 New Jersey in the first, 15-14 Calgary in the second, 8-6 Calgary in the third. In the overtime, all 3 shots belong to the Devils. Final shots, 35-30 for New Jersey. Power plays, the Devils 1 for 5, Calgary 0 for 2. Hits, 40-14 for Calgary. Vanacek saved 27 out of 30. Markstrom saved 31 out of 35. So yeah, for Calgary, I mean, now they're going out on the road, right? So we'll see if their fortunes change, but it's been a tough one. All right, next up, Anaheim and San Jose. I second time in a week, felt almost exactly the same. These are 2 teams that aren't making the playoffs any more than the Canucks are, and so yeah. Stolarz versus Reimer, early jump for the Sharks, and they would get the first goal. It's LeBanc from Meyer and Benning at 3:54. We then had a fight between Beaulieu and Gadjevich. This is the 3rd straight game Beaulieu's been in a fight. I don't remember him fighting this much in his career, so he's obviously taken on the role Delorier used to play for the Ducks. Shots are 5-0 for the Sharks at 6 minutes. The first shot for the Ducks was about 9 minutes. LeBanc nearly gets another. There was a Ducks 3-on-2 that fizzled, but it set up a little bit of a press, and Leeson would score from Klingberg and McTavish at 12:06. That was only the 2nd shot of the game for the Ducks. And yeah, so that one counts. Sharks try to answer. There's a delay game call, so the Sharks get a power play. Sturm has a shot that's held. That's killed off, and before the period's out, Maxime Comtois. He is having that bounce-back season. I figured he would. He was snake bit last year. He's already got 4 goals this year. He scores from Zegras and Leeson at 17:20. So Leeson with his first goal and his first assist as a Duck tonight. That was the 3rd shot. So 2 goals on 3 shots. That's buried on a rush. The Sharks then press in the final minute. They would end up with a power play as well with 17 seconds left, but it's 2-1 for the Ducks after 1 period. Second period. Ducks didn't let them set up that power play to start the second. There's a near miss for Bonino after that's done. Stolarz holds a tipped shot. The shots are 4-3 for the Ducks at 6 minutes, but at 8:09 it's Meyer who's finally got the puck going in the net, and he's heated up quite nicely from Carlson and Hertl. The Ducks then press with 5.5 minutes left. Things get unfriendly with 4:45 left. The Sharks come out of that with a power play. The Sharks score, but is it offside? It's not. So the player's skates were off the ice as he was leaving the ice, so it does not count as being offside. And so it counts. It's Cunnin from Hertl and LeBanc. That was a power play goal, and so because they challenged it, well, now it's another power play. The Ducks did kill that one. So we're going to the 3rd period. Things get pushy after a hold by Reimer. Lawrence is denied on a turnover. Lindblom couldn't bury one. He had the opportunity there. Shots are 6-4 for the Sharks at 6.5 minutes. And then at 9:33, Hertl scores from LeBanc and Meyer. So a lot of these guys who've been kind of cold for San Jose are warming up. And I thought, hey, you know, it's 4-2. Maybe this one will be done in regulation. Stupid hockey guy. So the Sharks press with 7.5 minutes left. They get a power play with 6:09 left. Again, I'm thinking, okay, if they get a goal here. Nope. So LeBanc's denied. And then McTavish coming out of the box gets a break, and he scores. Kulikov, smart enough to see him coming out. That's at 15:58. So then they pull the goalie with 2:10 left. This is where I realized what was going to happen, and it did. It is Henrique from Strome and Terry at 18:32. So we're going to overtime. I didn't write a lot of what happened in overtime. There was a lot of shots. There was a lot of opportunities. There was a lot of turnovers. Ducks controlled it first. Henrique was denied at one point during it. But we're going to a shootout, because of course we are. It's round 5 before it ends, and it's Henrique that ended it. It was Henrique that sent us into overtime, and then he was the one that ended the shootout. So your 3 stars are all Sharks. The final score is 5-4 in a shootout for Anaheim. They're 4-7-1. The Sharks are 3-8-3. So for the second time in the week, the Sharks are all 3 stars when they lost a game. LeBanc, Hurdle, and Carlson. What about Henrique? Anyways, the shots, or Stolarz. Stolarz was fantastic. So the shots, 21-4 for San Jose in the first, 13-6 San Jose in the second, 13-11 San Jose in the third, 5-4 San Jose in the overtime. Final shots, 52-25 for the Sharks. Power plays, Anaheim didn't have any. San Jose was 1 for 5. Hits were 25-15 for the Sharks. Stolarz saves 48 out of 52, and they couldn't give him a star. Reimer saves 21 out of 25. So just bonkers. I don't know what's going on with San Jose, but it just feels like if they're at home, they're going to get all the stars. Just because that's why I don't show the 3 stars all the time, is because if it's not a really busy night, I know I'm going to be able to fill the whole board with notes. It's not a big deal. But anyways, there you go. Last up is LA and Florida. So I wore LA for the preview this morning, and all right. I was a little nervous about that one. But Bobrovsky versus Quick in this one, Arvidsson's denied and close. The Kings had the early edge, but they didn't have the early edge in shots. The shots are 1 apiece at 5.5 minutes. Kings get a power play. That was killed off. There's a press by the Kings at 9.5 minutes, but Florida opens the scoring. It's Lomberg from Balsers at 11 minutes. Now, it was on a delayed call. It was going to be a double minor for the high stick. Because he scores here, it becomes a single minor for a high stick. It's one of those odd things you just don't often see. So that was killed off, and then the Kings get a rush. But after the first period, it's 1-0 for Florida. Second period, the shots are 3-1 for the Kings at 4 minutes. So they come out strong there. Kings get a power play. That was killed off. The Panthers press at 7 minutes. There's a crossbar and out for Gudas. And then Kupari would tie it. He scores from Fiala at 9:27. It was a good press. He buries it. That tie doesn't last, though. 18 seconds later, it's for Hagee from Forsling and Barkov. So at 9:45, it's a 2-1 lead. The lead doesn't last either, because at 10:19, it's Moore from Arvidsson and Danault. And so it's tied. And it was a perfect tip in close by Moore to get that one in the net. So it's 2-2, and things are going kind of crazy. Panthers press for an answer. Kopitar tried to bank one in off of Bobrovsky. Wouldn't go. Kings get a power play. That's killed off. 2:49 left. The Panthers get a power play. Montour scores a power play goal, but it's ruled as goalie interference. And it's incidental. It's not like there's a power play. They challenge it. The challenge fails. So they're taken off the power play. It becomes 4-on-4. So Verhaeghe's held on a rush, or Verhaeghe has a rush chance. That's held. And then during that very short power play, LA would score. Arvidsson from Kopitar and Moore at 19:34. He tips it in. I think it was like a 25-second power play after the 4-on-4 was done. Nicely done. So LA comes out of that period with a lead. So we're going to the third. At 1:18, Luostarinen scores from Reinhart and Cousins. He put it through quick and close. But then at 2:40, LA gets that back. It's Lizotte from Roy. So you got Roy over here and you got Roy over here. And that was a nice breakaway on a turnover and a goal by Lizotte. But Verhaeghe would get that back from Tkachuk on a second attempt that Verhaeghe had at 5:04. So this is where the goal scoring is just kind of crazy. And I'm thinking, am I going to have enough room? And in the end, I did. So the Kings get a power play. That's killed off. Lundell took a shot off the outside of his knee. That looked like it hurt. And then Velarde would score from Edler and Kopitar at 16:42. Beautiful goal by Velarde. He had like maybe this much room, and he got the puck through. Like, he had very little room to get that puck through. It was Bobrovsky was off the post just a little bit, and that's all it took. Velarde gets the goal. It's his 9th of the season. With 1:54 left, a goalie gets pulled. And then during play two, Tkachuk's stick appeared to go through the holes in the mask on Quick and caught him in the eye a little bit. Quick didn't like that. Now, the funny thing is, it was the LA announcers, and they were sounding like, well, Tkachuk didn't mean to do it, but he knew what he was doing. And I was like, wait, so are you saying it was on purpose? He was like, well, I'm not saying it's on purpose, but he knows what he's doing. So, but what? So anyways, Quick wasn't happy, and we had a bit of a brawl with 0.8 seconds left on the clock. But in the end, LA wins 5-4. I will say this, Tkachuk was definitely getting up in the goaltender's business. And I was kind of surprised there wasn't more done about that. But anyways, The Florida Panthers dropped to 6-5-1. This is a team that is not the same as last year at all. The Kings are 7-6-1. This is one of those times I look at the Florida Panthers right now and I think, why did they get rid of Andrew Brunette again? Like, I'm not saying that to be mean to Paul Maurice or anything, but they had a really good regular season record under Andrew Brunette. I'm really surprised they changed the coach, because if you're looking for regular season success, Brunette was good at that. And anyways, so the 3 stars in this one are Moore, Arvidsson, and Velarde, which I'm okay with because they won in regulation. Your shots are 10-8 Florida in the first, 21-14 LA in the second, 12 apiece in the third. Last year, Florida was lights out in third periods. This year, they're not. Final shots, 39-36 LA. Power plays, Florida 0 for 2. LA 1 for 6. Hits, 25-22 LA. Bobrovsky, 34 saves on 39 shots. Quick, 34 saves on 38 shots. So, there were some hairy moments in that last minute where I thought Florida was going to tie it, but they didn't, and here we are. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.